Money is just energy. I'm sure you've heard this before. But the truth is, money is not neutral. The system it flows through is not neutral. And pretending otherwise, well, that's not spirituality. That's bypassing. Hey, I'm Veronica. Welcome or welcome back. Today, I want to show you why belief alone isn't enough, why so many spiritual teachings about money miss the bigger truth, and what abundance really means when we look deeper. And stay with me until the end because I'll share how to spot the difference between wealth and true abundance in your own life. And if you're new here and if you find value in my content, the best way to support this work is simple: like, comment, and subscribe. And it helps this message reach others who are ready for real transformation. All right, let's dive in. In many spiritual and self-development places, money is often described as neutral energy, a tool we can direct through our beliefs, intentions, and actions. And there is truth in that. Our beliefs about money shape how we experience it, how we receive, hold, and give. For many, shifting beliefs around scarcity and worthiness opens real doors. But there's also a deeper truth. The system we are born into is not neutral. It privileges the few at the expense of many. And when spiritual communities deny this reality, they slip into bypassing, using pretty words to avoid hard truths. It is not enough to say anyone can access abundance if they believe strongly enough. That claim ignores systemic barriers and privileges that distribute money unevenly from the start. Beliefs matter. They do not override generational wealth gaps, colonization, or wage exploitation. True spirituality invites us to hold both truths at once. One, the personal truth. Money is shaped by our energy, our beliefs, our patterns of giving and receiving. And then there's the collective truth. We live within systems that are deeply unequal, and those systems shape what is possible for each person. When we honor both truths, spirituality stops being an escape and becomes a compass. It asks us not only to shift our own energy, but also to participate in collective healing and change. That could look like supporting mutual aid, redistributing wealth, building businesses that center fairness, practicing transparency, or redefining abundance, not as accumulation, but as shared well-being. Abundance is real, but it is not separate from justice. To seek one without the other is to stay asleep. There's something that often gets lost in conversations about money and spirituality. I recently heard a student ask a teacher, why does it seem that narcissists or people who misuse their power often have more money than those with good hearts or spiritual awareness? The teacher's response was familiar. Money is a neutral tool, an energy that responds to our beliefs. And yes, on one level, that's true. If we believe money is evil, we may unconsciously block our own ability to receive it. Healing our relationship with money is absolutely important. But money doesn't move in a vacuum. It circulates through systems built on inequality, exploitation, and extraction. To say the system doesn't matter is to overlook the conditions billions are born into before they ever had the chance to create or shift a belief. Money may be neutral as a tool, but the structures it flows through are not neutral. That's only one part of the picture. When people ask questions like this, they're not just asking about mindset. They're naming the reality we all see. A system that rewards exploitation, manipulation, and hoarding, while millions struggle simply to survive. When a single billionaire holds more than entire nations, while families are choosing between food and rent, it's not just about belief systems, it's about structures of power that are not neutral. To focus only on change your beliefs risks sounding like spiritual bypassing, because yes, beliefs shape our experience, but they do not erase the fact that the system itself is tilted. Survival is real. Poverty is real. Homelessness is real. These realities deserve to be acknowledged, not brushed aside. And yet, it's also true. Abundance is not the same thing as wealth. Abundance is flow, sufficiency, generosity, and connection. Wealth, especially when hoarded, is often rooted in scarcity and fear, the constant cry of never enough. So the deeper point deserves honoring. It's not just about manifesting money. It's about recognizing that what we call success in the system often comes at a cost to humanity. The spiritual limitation is not only personal belief shifting, it's collective awakening. Because true spirituality asks, what do we do with the resources we have? Do we use them to uplift humanity or to climb a hierarchy built on suffering? Money may be a tool, but abundance is how that tool is used, in service of life or in service of self. Yes, mindset matters. Gratitude, openness, and a willingness to receive can absolutely transform our experience of life. Shifting our inner world often shifts our outer one, but mindset alone is not enough. When someone is in survival mode, choosing between food and rent, working 3 jobs and still falling short, struggling to keep their family warm, telling them that their suffering comes from a bad money belief, is not compassion. It's gaslighting. Imagine this. A Ferrari glides through a neighborhood where families are hungry, where elders sleep on sidewalks, where children's bellies ache. The car shines, the engine hums, and the driver looks out the window and thinks, they just need a better relationship. With money, that is not abundance. That is blindness, dressed as success. True abundance would stop the car. True abundance would ask, what do I do with what I have to ease this suffering? Because abundance is not about hoarding resources. It's about circulation. It's not about insulation. It's about connection. A spirituality that tells the poor to fix their mindset, while praising billionaires as abundant, has lost its soul. True spiritual work is twofold. Number 1, there's personal healing, releasing fear, shame, or scarcity in our relationship with money. And 2, collective awakening, refusing to look away from the systems that normalize inequality. Because true abundance doesn't drive past suffering with tinted windows. It sees, responds, and gives. We need to separate 2 things. Wealth is often about accumulation, hierarchy, and control. Abundance is about flow, generosity, sufficiency, and care. You can be wealthy and live in scarcity, never having enough. You can have modest means and live abundantly, rooted in enoughness and generosity. This is the deeper point often missed when we only focus on belief work around money. Yes, beliefs matter, but abundance isn't measured in Ferraris, Forbes lists, or bank accounts. It's measured in how we use what we have to uplift humanity. Wealth without empathy is not abundance. This is where spiritual teachings often fracture. On one side, the message that your beliefs create your reality, which can empower but also isolate. On the other, the undeniable fact that systems of oppression shape the conditions we are born into and the opportunities available to us. Both are true. True spirituality asks us to hold the tension between them, to nurture our relationship with abundance while refusing to look away from the disproportions that constrain so many. It's tempting to collapse into one extreme or the other, to say it's all mindset and ignore the weight of history, or to say the system is rigged and abandon all agency. Some worry that focusing on inequality keeps us stuck in lack, but acknowledging inequality isn't about staying stuck. It's about refusing to pretend it doesn't exist. Ignoring the system isn't empowerment. It's denial. Yes, money can be experienced as energy, but it flows through structures designed to privilege some and exclude others. To collapse spirituality into just change your energy is to sever it from truth. But real spirituality lives in the tension between these truths. Our beliefs matter. They can open us to flow, generosity, and trust. They can help us release patterns of fear and scarcity. And yes, systems matter. They shape what's possible for each of us, often long before we take our first breath. They decide who gets a head start and who is held back. What if abundance wasn't about accumulating more, but about creating enough for all? What if wealth wasn't measured in personal net worth, but in the health of our communities, the safety of our children, and the care we extend to one another? Some spiritual circles claim that talking about inequality is negative and lowers your vibration, but naming injustice isn't negativity, it's clarity. Pretending suffering doesn't exist doesn't raise our vibration. It severs our connection to humanity. True abundance doesn't bypass suffering. It moves toward it with compassion. When we hold both truths, the personal and collective, abundance takes on a new shape. It becomes less about bypassing the pain of the world and more about participating in its healing. The deeper truth is this: money has always carried stories. We get to decide which story we're continuing, one of extraction or one of restoration. Abundance is not what we clutch to our chest. It's what we release into the world. It's not driving past hunger with tinted windows. It's stopping, noticing, and sharing. It's not insulation, but connection. At the heart of that student's question, why do people who misuse power often seem to have more money than those with good hearts? There is something deeper. It is not just a question about money. It's a question about what we have been taught to call success. We have been handed a distorted definition of wealth. Numbers in a bank account, cars in the driveway, titles on a resume. And yet, if all of that were taken away, would we be less human, less worthy, less whole? I've wrestled with this myself. For me, wealth is not in the zeros in my bank account. It is in my wholeness. It's in my connectedness, in my ability to return my attention back to myself. My wealth is not what I own, but who I am becoming. I've had moments where my bank account was nearly empty. Well, I've had empty bank accounts where my credit card was maxed and survival fear pressed in. As a teacher and a guide, I've studied what happens to the mind in survival, and I've lived it. I've felt how quickly the mind spirals into distraction, into panic, into forgetting purpose. But I've also learned what it means to return, to unplug from those spirals, to ground in enoughness, and to remember that my worth is not defined by numbers on a screen. Even in lack, when I return to center, I find clarity and energy to keep serving my purpose. That is the wealth no system can strip from me. And if this is true for me, it can be true for us as communities, as a collective. This is what abundance calls us to become untied from the lies the world sells us about what it means to be valuable or successful. Because when we confuse wealth With money alone, our spirits become disoriented. The real limitation is this: to redefine wealth on our own terms, to see wealth as enoughness, as connection, as authenticity, as love. So maybe the answer to that student's question is simple and radical. Yes, people can hoard money through exploitation, but that is not abundance. That is not wealth. That is blindness. True abundance is not what we accumulate. It is what we circulate. It is not what we cling to. It is what we release. In the end, money may be a neutral tool, but how we engage with it is not neutral. Abundance is not what we hold. It is about what we release. It's not about climbing above humanity. It's about serving it. And that's the bigger truth. Abundance is not about what we own. It's about who we become and how we care for each other with what passes through our hands. Let's return to where we began. The lie we keep telling is that money is neutral. But when we face both personal truth and systemic truth, money can become a tool for healing, justice, and real abundance. My invitation is this: don't bypass. Don't settle for surface beliefs. Do the deeper work in yourself and in how you move through the world. Because true abundance isn't about what you own. It's about how you live, how you give, and who you are and are becoming. In every moment, in every breath. Thank you for being here. I'm Veronica, signing off. I'll see you on the next one.